Here with our special meeting of the Board of Commissioners, and we have two items on the agenda. We're going to continue the interview process and then provide further instruction to staff for Tuesday night. And with us today is Kristen Navara from Strategic Government Resources. And Kristen, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. My name's Steve Maher. We'll just go around the table. Commissioner Candace DeFinis, Commissioner Cad Lee, Mayor Pro Tem Brenda McMillan, Commissioner Tracy Westlake, and Commissioner Brenda Burns. So without further ado, we're going to turn it over to you and tell us everything you want to tell us.
Awesome. Well, so I have a brief presentation for you that just goes through the search process and gives you a little bit of a background on strategic government resources and kind of what we believe in and where we started. And then I'll also discuss your recruiter. Typically, we like the recruiter to be on the call or in person with myself, but he already had a meeting scheduled off-site today, so was unable to be part of the meeting. But he's happy to chat with you after this if needed. And I have, of course, all the information on him. So I'm Kristen Navara, so kind of my role in the whole process is I'm responsible for responding to RFPs and putting together our proposals. I help out with contracts, and then I also work with all of the recruiters on all of the searches that SGR has going on, just kind of working through the process with them and making sure they don't need anything. So I do a little bit of everything. I wear several different hats, so I'm happy to be joining you today.
We're happy you're here.
Thank you. So we'll start with kind of the background, and everybody can see the screen I'm sharing, correct?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So I'll start with a little bit of background on SGR. So we have been around since about 1999, so about 20 years now. Our CEO, Ron Hollyfield, is a former city manager himself. He was city manager in several different places throughout the state of Texas. And we work with cities, counties, towns, townships, any type of municipality or county government all over the United States. We are a full service firm, so in addition to executive recruiting, we do a lot of leadership development. We do a lot of council workshops, board workshops, things like that. We have live and online training, all related to local government. So we're a well-rounded firm and certainly participate in the professional organizations that are associated with what we do. So going into the actual search process, so we really believe that there are really 5 key items that are really important for a search to be successful. So first, and probably one of the most important things, is we want to make sure that we have a very firm understanding of your organization. We want to know your culture, any nuances of the organization, of the community, what's important to you. That's a really important first step in understanding all of that, so that we can make sure that we're finding a town manager that's not just a great town manager, but somebody who's going to be a great fit for your organization and your community as well. And then our talent marketing also is really important to us and very helps us be successful in our searches. So we do a lot of targeted outreach as well as marketing the position on different sites from professional organizations, on our job board, on our website. But we don't want to just wait for candidates to come in and hope that it's a good applicant pool. We certainly want to reach those passive candidates as well. Our candidate vetting process is pretty rigorous. We have a stage 1 and stage 2 media searches, and I'll go into that a little bit more when we get into the actual search process. And then we also do very in-depth background checks on the final candidates. So we want to make sure there's no surprises, everything, that there is out there on the candidate to allow you to have everything you need to make the best decision for your organization and your community. And then we also want the candidate to have a really strong understanding of the culture there and the organization, so that they know the community that they're stepping into before they even come, for an interview. We want them to understand exactly what community they're they're getting into, so that they understand that there's no surprises at the end, or candidate withdrawals or anything like that. And then finally, we just want the process to be as smooth as possible, both for you all and for the candidate. We want to, shoulder the burden of it. It's a big decision to select a new town manager. So we want to make sure that we're giving you everything that you possibly could need to make the best decision for your organization. So these are just some examples of, I mentioned our talent marketing. So we advertise the position on all of our social media sites, as well as announcing the position in our 10 and 10 e-newsletter. I'm not sure if any of you received that. We do have over 50,000 subscribers across the United States, so this is an opt-in subscriber, so we're not spamming people, at least trying not to. And it's just a leadership development newsletter, so that's the position is advertised in that. And then what you see on the screen there are some examples of what the advertisements look like on the various social media sites.
As an editorial, the newsletter is quite good. I happen to be a subscriber.
Oh, good, awesome. I'm glad to hear that. So, so that reaches, a very wide range of folks across the United States. So we're pretty proud of that, and we take a lot of pride in it. Certainly, social media advertising is, as you know, becoming more and more important, because that's where people are looking for jobs. So we definitely utilize those resources to our advantage. These are just some numbers for you to kind of understand where the applicants are coming from. About 65% of candidates who reach the semifinalist level, so those candidates that move forward after that first initial application screening that you select to move forward in the process, are a result of direct outreach by SGR. So again, we're not, waiting for applicants to come in and hoping that we get a good applicant pool. We certainly want to make sure that we're doing everything we can and doing our due diligence to ensure the candidate pool and that we're getting applicants who are qualified for the position and who are what you're looking for. And then the other numbers show, percentages as far as getting candidates to apply through different outlets, ad placements, things like that on national and state association websites. So what makes SGR different than other search firms? I would say, the 10 and 10, as I mentioned earlier, certainly stands out and is something a little bit different that we do. All of our recruiters, including the recruiter for this particular search, have a background in local government. Most of them are former city managers, town managers, fire chiefs, police chiefs, so they've all been in executive level positions within local government, so they've been in the seat that they're recruiting for. So that certainly gives them a unique perspective and the ability to work with elected officials as well as the candidates who are applying, because they've been there. And then we also, our job board is the second largest job board in the nation as far as local government public sector job boards. So it certainly reaches a very wide range of individuals who have expressed interest in receiving information about town manager searches, specifically city manager searches and things like that. So again, it's definitely going to be advertised in all of the places that are significant to garner those candidates that are going to be a good fit for the organization, but we do a lot of direct outreach as well. So your recruiter. So Kurt Hodgen joined SGR about 2 years ago and is a former city manager himself. His experience is in Virginia. He actually now lives in North Carolina, so he wouldn't have to travel too far to get to you. But his background certainly lends to the search that you're about to embark upon. So, and Kurt has worked with cities again all over the United States and is very familiar with North Carolina as well, since he lives there. So the project methodology, and I'll do kind of an overview of the entire process, and then certainly if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. So as I mentioned earlier, we start out with the profile development, so understanding the organization.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just for our sake, for reading, this mirrors the first page in section 3, correct?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I have
absolutely.
a follow-on question.
Sure.
So I just wanted to confirm, with the reach out beyond your newsletter and things of that nature, do you have a listing of other organizations like, League of Municipalities, things of that nature that you would reach out to in order to get candidates? Is that something that you can send along?
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that we do too before we actually open the search up to applicants is your recruiter, Kurt, will work with you when he comes out for that first meeting of profile interviews. We'll work with you and have a suggested list of ad placements and where we're going to advertise the position. And you'll have the opportunity to see and approve all of those before we actually open the search up. So that's something that he'll certainly get your input on as well.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. So the first step is Kurt coming out to meet with you all and doing what we call profile interviews. Every city does this a little bit differently, so we want to do what best fits your needs and your desires for that process. Typically what that looks like is the recruiter is going to come out and meet with you all, meet with department directors or anyone else in the organization or even within the community, community leaders that are actively involved and things like that, to talk to you about the organization and exactly what you're looking for in a town manager. So he's going to get a really good, firm understanding of exactly the characteristics you're looking for, any unique challenges that the town manager might face or might need to be prepared to handle when he comes on board. Great things about the community, helping the candidates to just really understand your organization, what you're looking for in your next leader. So that would be the first step is the recruiter coming out and meeting with you all. So from those meetings, Kurt will draft a profile, and we have a professional profile writer as well, and a graphic designer that work together with the recruiter to develop that position profile brochure. And there was an example of one of those in the proposal that we sent to you. So it really helps to tell the narrative of your town and what's unique about it, what's awesome about it, and exactly what you're looking for, what the ideal candidate is, if you will. So once that is completed, Kurt will send you the profile to review. You'll have the opportunity to make any edits that you would like to the profile. And then once all of that is finalized, then we launch the position. So we open it up to applicants, and that's when we start advertising on the different ad sites that you will have been able to approve. And then Kurt will also start reaching out to his network, and we'll post it on our job board on our website and start advertising for the position. So we typically leave it open for 30 days. During that 30 days, Kurt is interacting with the candidates. We actually also have a lot of interaction with the candidates with our staff in the office. Every recruiter that we have has a staff person that supports them. So with any administrative tasks, so that way the recruiter can be completely focused on your search. And not have to worry about putting, different things together or the administrative tasks. So he does have somebody supporting him in the office. So those office staff are also interacting with the candidates. And every interaction that we have with the candidate, we're certainly paying attention to make sure there's no red flags or anything, of concern that you need to be aware of. So that's happening during that 30 days of the position being advertised. Once the position closes, Kurt will come back out and meet with you all and present the candidates to you in ranked order. So those are going to be Tier A, B, and C candidates. The Tier A candidates being the candidates that are, meet and exceed your minimum qualifications and what you're looking for. And then the Tier B candidates might have all of the minimum qualifications, but maybe not necessarily things that were preferred. And then the Tier C candidates would be those that don't meet the minimum qualifications. So we want you to be able to see all the candidates and everybody that applies, but certainly Kurt will have recommendations as far as who would be the best fit for the organization based on what you say you're looking for. So that would be that second meeting that he comes out to meet with you all. Also during that meeting, after reviewing the candidates, Kurt will facilitate the discussion to narrow candidates down to semifinalists, which is typically about 8 to 12 candidates. So we will let the candidates know that are not moving forward, and then we will work with the semifinalists on the next step. So they will be required to complete a written questionnaire and an online pre-recorded interview. And you'll also have the opportunity to review those questions that we ask them for both the written questionnaire and the online interview, in case there's any specific questions that you want to get out of the candidates. So that way also with the online interviews, you have the opportunity to see the candidates before they actually come in for an in-person interview. So that's completed by the semifinalists. We typically give them a week to finish those assignments. And then we also do the stage 1 media searches on them at that time, which is a quick kind of Google search and search through LexisNexis to make sure we don't come up with anything that's a red flag. Then Kurt will come back out. You will receive, before Kurt comes back out, we'll put everything together for you in a briefing book. And you'll receive briefing books on the candidates. So it will include just the semifinalist candidates, along with their resume, their cover letter, the answers to the written questionnaire. And then you'll be emailed a link to the online interviews, so you'll have the opportunity to watch those before Kurt comes back out as well. So that third meeting where he comes back out will be to narrow the candidates down to finalists. So you're discussing the semifinalists, reviewing their questionnaires, and all the materials that they've submitted, and narrowing it down to about 4 to 6 finalists. Those are the candidates that will be invited for an in-person interview. And then we will do a stage 2 media search on those candidates, which is a lot more in-depth. We're looking at all of their social media sites, any blog posts from communities where they're currently in or have been in previously. And then we also do an extended background check. So it checks any kind of civil, criminal court filings, their credit history, employment history. If they're military, we can verify their military history, and then and that goes back 10 years. So all of that will be provided to you on the final 4 to 6 candidates, depending on how many are selected to move forward to the interview process. And then Kurt will also come back out for interviews and be there to facilitate that whole process and coordinate all of that with the candidates for you in conjunction with your schedules. And then he'll be there for negotiating salary all the way till the end. A candidate accepts the position and selects a start date. So that's kind of a very high-level overview of the entire search process. I'm happy to answer any specific questions you might have.
Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask on the process only at this point in time?
I do.
Okay. This is Commissioner DeFinis, so
Hi
you
there,
know
how
who
are
you're
you?
dealing with.
How are you doing, Maher? How are you?
Good. So taking a look, I'm looking at beyond step number 7 and step number 8. You're saying that the disc management assessment tool is a supplemental, and it's not something that was involved in the process unless we request it?
Sure. So if you want us to do the disc assessment on the candidates, we are happy to. It's just, correct, it's if you're requesting for us to do that. Not all cities are interested in that, so we've kind of made it an optional item. But it can be beneficial in looking at the candidate's management style and things like that. So certainly if you want to do it, that's done at the finalist stage. So it would be done on the candidates that were selected to be coming for the in-person interview, and we would have them complete it before the interview, and that would be included in that briefing book that you received for the finalist candidates.
Okay. And then regarding the pre-recorded interviews, so you guys would provide a template, but we would also get to submit our questions and make sure that we can make it a little bit more personalized to Waxhaw?
Absolutely. So Kurt, your recruiter, will come up with, those interviews are typically about 4 or 5 questions, and the candidates are allowed 3 minutes to answer the question. That way, you're not watching a 2-hour movie on each of the candidates. We're pretty selective on those questions, but certainly Kurt would work with you on which, how you want to ask the questions and if there's any specific questions that you're wanting to ask.
Okay, and final question. Do you guys do any kind of competency, have them provide writing samples, have them do any kind of public speaking, or what their communication style is, any kind of on-hand competency associated to some of the soft skills and the job skills that would be required, how to put together a presentation, et cetera?
Sure. So the written questionnaire is pretty telling when it comes to their ability to successfully communicate in writing. And again, you'd be able to approve those questions as well. That one is a little bit more lengthy. It's typically anywhere between 17 to 20 questions. And so they're asked to provide brief responses to those answers, but it certainly does show their writing style. As far as presenting, a lot of times we will do that in the interview process and have that be part of the interview. So they might be required, for example, to do a first-year game plan, which we would give them, once they were selected as a finalist, we would give them the instructions for that. A lot of cities choose to do that and make it part of the interview process. So basically that is, kind of what would you do in your first year should you be selected to be the town manager. And that allows them to put together both a written response as well as present it to you all or to the interview panels or however that's going to be set up. And it kind of gives you not only an idea of their ability to present and communicate both orally and in written form, but also what their vision is for the town and ensure that that's in line with what your vision is and what you're looking for.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
On the process?
I was just going to ask about that first-year game plan. Is that something that would be an additional fee, or is that included in the all-inclusive service?
No, that's included in that not-to-exceed price.
Okay.
Go ahead and continue with your presentation.
Okay, great. I just have one more slide. Speaking about kind of what sets SGR apart. So the National Research Center conducted a survey on behalf of SGR, and it was sent out to about 4,000 city management professionals, rating 14 different agencies, recruiting firms for local government specifically. And SGR ranked fairly high in all of the categories. And I have, typically if I'm there in person, I have a hard copy of the survey for you, but I'm happy to send that via email if you'd like to review that. So, and that's just comparing us against other executive recruiting firms in the public sector.
Okay. So we'll go around the board, and if there's any outstanding questions based upon what you presented or some other questions, we'll start with Mayor Pro Tem McMillan.
Thank you for being here to speak with us today.
Absolutely.
In looking at some of the searches that you've conducted or the places where you've worked, I see that it is, there's a lot with Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and there doesn't seem to be too much here in the, South with North Carolina. So I only saw one, I think, that was mentioned for Mooresville. Is that the only one, or,
In North Carolina specifically?
Correct.
Yes, I can get a list of any searches that were done in North Carolina, but yes, that would be, we haven't done a ton in North Carolina. We've done a lot we've done several in near and around there that are not just, Texas-based. We've done a lot in the Pacific Northwest. We've done a lot of work with Tennessee, Georgia, Kentucky, Michigan, Montana, actually. And some of those services are not necessarily executive recruitments, but specifically the proposal that I sent you was related to executive recruitment. But we certainly have done, leadership development, working with elected officials in other towns near and around there. But I'm happy to email you a list of those project-specific items and give you any references that might be beneficial to you for those.
Okay, thank you.
Kurt, the recruiter, lives in North Carolina, so he's familiar with the area as well.
Would, just as a follow-up to that, would Kurt have more of the in-depth knowledge of Mooresville, and just, was he involved in that one?
I don't know that he did that specific recruitment, but I can look back and see which recruiter that was. It was a few years ago, so I need to look back and see.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Westlake?
Sure, I'm looking at your timeline. The only question I have for you is we're in the middle of a election season. There will be an election in November, and the new board will be seated in December. So I'm curious, do you know how your timeline would work, what you normally do when you're involved in a search over an election period?
Sure, so it certainly happened a lot. The timeline that we have in there is kind of a generic timeline that we try to follow, but certainly every recruitment that we do, we specify the timeline that works best for you all. So that will be part of the discussion that Kurt has with you when he comes out to meet with you all is, let's look at the timeline and kind of go through exactly the time frame that you're looking at how elections could possibly affect that. It's, middle of October, so probably by the time the search was launched and open for applicants, it would be after the election, so that might be beneficial as far as, if there's anything that changes on that. So, but we can certainly tweak that timeline to best fit your needs and what you have. The only items in the timeline that are difficult to change are once we get to background checks and media searches. Those typically will take about 10 business days, and as far as the background checks, there's not a lot we can do to speed that up, but we can certainly tweak other areas in the search timeline.
Yeah, just to kind of take your timeline and apply it, all of the work to get the profile and to get the search started is all done prior to the new board being seated. The new board would see all of the applicants and everything forward, so, which makes good sense. The only thing that I noticed and how can you plan for it? You got Christmas holiday season in there, so you'd extend it a couple weeks, and so from the time that you present candidates to the new board to the end, it looks like it runs from December 10th to the end of February. So that seems you have it packaged well, in other words, I think.
Awesome, yeah, we try to certainly, especially this time of year, consider the holidays. So, in-person interviews, we try to make sure that we're not scheduling those near, Christmas or anything like that, because we know that candidates if they've already got vacations planned by this point in the year. So, but we do find that as far as the written questionnaire and things that they can do from their home are not typically as hard for them to complete, even, if it's the week before Christmas or something like that. So, but we certainly try to take that into consideration when we're looking at the timeline.
Other questions, Commissioner Westlake? Commissioner Burns?
Thank you, Jennifer, for coming for coming and talking to us today. What percentage of placements have had long-term success in their positions with your company?
Sure. So we have about a 95% success rate on candidates that we've placed in the last 3 or 4 years, as far as being at an organization for 2 years or longer, and that's looking at candidates from the semifinalist stage on. So candidates that move forward as semifinalists and end up being hired for the position. We don't have a lot of candidates leave the position before 2 years is up. And then the candidates that have left within that 2-year time frame, where we've redone the search, then the rate of the candidates staying at that is even lower or even higher than the 95% rate. So we don't do a lot of redo searches. Out of 85 to 100 searches per year that we do, maybe probably less than 10 of those end up in a search that we have to do again because the candidate has left.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes, hello. Thank you for coming today. I just wanted to know, have there been any searches that you can think of recently that you were not able to complete, where you could not find a good candidate?
So we've never completely not completed a search. Recently, in the last 2 years, I would say we've certainly had a couple of situations where we got to the end of the search and, for whatever reason, after interviews, either the board or the elected officials weren't all on the same page for who they wanted to hire, or for whatever reason, a candidate decided, something happened and the candidate had to back out even after being interviewed. So at that point, we would start the search process over at no additional cost, but it certainly doesn't happen a lot. An example of that happening, we did the town manager search. I believe it was in Killeen, Texas, actually, is one that we're doing right now. And we did the same search for them probably about two and a half years ago. So the only reason for that redo is the person that they hired is now retiring. So it's never been an issue where the candidate, wasn't a good fit necessarily, which is one of the reasons we try to vet the candidates pretty well. Certainly things happen, new boards, are elected and things can change, but it's not something that happens very often.
Thank you.
Commissioner DeFinis?
Yes, so how do you guys go through and really assess the candidate's soft skills if we're not looking at the supplemental cost of having the survey? What tools do you guys use to go through and do that process if that other process isn't executed?
Sure. So it's kind of embedded in the search process, if you will. So as I mentioned, a lot of interaction is happening with the candidates during the entire process. And our staff, most of our staff in the office actually has a background in local government as well. So they're constantly interacting with the candidates, whether it's through email, whether it's through phone calls. The recruiter is also going to be reaching out with the candidates, via phone call and email as well. So it's not just the recruiter looking to the candidate for those items, but all of our staff and anybody that they have interaction with throughout the process. So Melissa Valentine, for example, is our HR director, and she does all of the online pre-recorded interviews, and she sends out the link to those interviews to the candidates, and she's the person that the candidates call if they are having, any technical issues or for some reason can't get logged in for the online interview. So the candidates are speaking with her throughout the process. They're speaking with the recruitment coordinators who support all of the recruiters throughout the process. I speak to a lot of the candidates throughout the process if they have any issues come up through the process or any questions, because I kind of back up all the recruiters as well. And then we also have a lot of cross-communication among all of the recruiters. So if there's a candidate from, somewhere where another recruiter possibly has experience or has done a search before, then we're able to see that through our system and through just communicating with each other. So the recruiters will also reach out to each other to kind of get background information on different candidates and get kind of the, inside scoop, if you will, to verify all of that information. So there's just constant interaction with the candidates throughout the entire process.
Thank you.
Okay, Kristen, I got about 3 questions.
Great.
Share a little bit with us Kurt's search load. Heavy right now? Not so heavy? I mean, how's his search load going to impact? Should we select you working with us?
Sure. So we're very careful about monitor, and that's part of my job too, is working to make sure that the recruiters don't have, a workload that they can't focus. Currently, Kurt has, I think, 3 other searches going. He typically, any recruiter, a full load for any recruiter is 4 or 5 searches, depending on what they have requested or what they're comfortable with. Kurt's kind of one of our heavy hitters, so he will typically have about 4 searches going at a time. Currently, he has 3. So being available is absolutely no problem at all for him, and especially because he's local in North Carolina, he can be there as needed.
Okay, thank you. We are starting this at a different time, if you will. So you're gonna, should we select you, we're asking you to go out and solicit candidates it's at the end of the audit period. It's that breath of air that they get between the end of the audit, getting everything turned in, and starting the budget up again. Their kids are in school. They're getting gearing down for the holidays. Tell us a little bit about the experiences you have in terms of what it takes to find candidates during that natural, and then throw an election in the middle of it, just that natural lull or hesitancy. Talk a little bit about that and how you combat that, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of different ways. So first of all, most candidates, if they're presented an opportunity that they've, maybe it's an opportunity that they can't pass up, whether it's a passive candidate or somebody who's actively looking, they're surprisingly, it's typically not a problem for candidates to participate, during this time of year. And I certainly, with a background in local government, understand that kind of deep breath that you get to take after the audit right before budget kicks back up. So another thing that we do for that is, Kurt's going to be reaching out to candidates that he feels would be a good fit for the organization as well. And that's another important part of the process in getting those passive candidates, even during the holidays, is being able to, present the organization, present your community as an opportunity that's just, too hard to pass up. And for those opportunities, city managers, town managers tend to be willing to move, even if it is in the middle of a school year or, in the middle of a fiscal year, beginning of fiscal year, based on the opportunity. So that's really where the recruiter comes in and knows the organization and is able to talk about the organization in depth with the candidates to show them the opportunity that there is, to be the town manager there.
Okay. Last question. What additional information do you need from us, if anything?
As far as getting the search started?
Yeah, just what don't you have that you'd like to have from Wax Audit? You're assessing us just like we're assessing you.
Absolutely. So what would you say would be a couple of, I know with the election coming up, but do you anticipate that there would be a change in the board and elected officials? Are there several positions that are up for re-election?
Yeah, and I don't plan to come back, so there's one. So
Okay.
To my right, Commissioner DeFinis was appointed, and she's not running again. So there's going to be at least two changes.
Sure.
And there's a third. We go 3 and 3. So there's 3 seats up. 2 will definitely turn over.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's certainly not, it's not new to us at all. As the nature of our job is such as that. So it's certainly not a concern for us, but something for the recruiter to know, just to be able to communicate that with candidates, if should a candidate ask. And that certainly happens this time of year too, because they're, anybody who has city manager experience knows that elections are typically in November, and they'll be asking those questions. So things like that are just things that the recruiter will know, and is probably already familiar with, being close to you guys. So I think that would be, any nuances or any unique situations in your community would be of value to know too.
Okay. Very good. Does anybody have any last questions? Kristen, thank you very much. The schedule we're on is we will direct the manager to enter into a contract Tuesday night, so the firm we select will be notified Wednesday morning. You'll hear from Wendy Davenport, who is off camera, I think, at this point, but our HR, you probably have interacted with her, so that's, either way, you will hear from her on Wednesday morning, the 23rd. So with that, thank you, and we will take a 5-minute recess and come back and do our last bit of work at 3:15. So thank you, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
we typically do, or what should be done, is this is a board process, so one of the sitting board members will be the interface to that committee, or to that firm, and that individual should be somebody that is is not up for reelection or not going to be leaving in the next 2 months. So it'll be among the three of you. One of you has to act as the interface, which is a very full-time job. It's not something that can be, not a full-time job, it's a very set of activities that cannot be delegated to staff because of the nature of the hiring process. I've done it with Robert Berg, and while Wendy's able to assist, there's work, it does take up a certain amount of workload of coordinating resources, et cetera, especially on the front-end part. So, who would like to start the discussion of the three firms?
I'm happy to.
Okay.
So just when I kick it off and I look at it from a cost perspective, you want to be cognizant of the taxpayer dollars. Developmental Associates was the most frugal cost. Just doing some quick numbers, SGR, who we just met with, their base price was $26,500. If we wanted to do the disc survey, we would have needed to, and I just added 4 candidates thinking that we might have 4 candidates come to the final. We would need to add $600 on, and that makes them the most costly at $32,500. And that's a $13,850 difference between them and Developmental Associates. So that was one of the factors that I had. Baker Tilly comes in at $24,500, $5,850 difference between them and Developmental Associates. For me, I've eliminated SGR just because they don't have very much experience in the state of North Carolina, the additional cost for the disc process, and I'm very concerned about not having the ability to see work product or understand how the candidate would be assessed for their skills as far as work product is concerned. So I've eliminated them from my perspective. Developmental Associates was my top choice. I thought that their process was extremely thorough. They have a lot of experience in the state of North Carolina, and I think that they have the right process and procedure, and all the different things that they're looking at are going to look at the candidate's competencies, soft skills, and they would be my choice.
Okay, so if I matrix this, Development Associates was your top choice.
Correct.
Baker Tilly number 2, SGR number 3.
Correct.
Who wants to go next?
I'm gonna,
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem.
I have to agree with Commissioner DeFinis on her statement, because I also looked at the supplemental services, if we're talking about SGR, and not just a disc assessment. If you needed any other additional things regarding candidates or travel or stakeholders, or even any workshops or team building processes, those were all additional costs, in addition to things that they were charging just for meals being billed. So their costs would go up and exceed even that $26,500 that they were coming in at. In looking at Baker Tilly seemed to be more of the type of firm that I could see working with if we needed staff positions, more so in hiring, finance or directors or things such as that nature.
Organizationally more.
More organizational than for town manager recruitment. Even in the presentation that was made by Mr. Minor, who was here, I felt more comfortable with Developmental Associates in their presentation, in their overall ability to handle the work, in their assessment as to how they would move forward with the process and the recruitment, and also, just reviewing and looking into people who have either used them or in information that, I've already heard regarding the company. They just seem to be well-versed in that, and also in that the director who spoke with us, his background with the School of Government and even town manager positions, it seemed like their employees or staff seems very well versed, as well as the fact that they are here in North Carolina. So I would have to say that they would be the top choice too in moving forward.
Okay, so you're in the same, Development Associate 1, Baker Tilly 2, and SGR 3.
Yep.
Commissioner Burns?
In looking at all the strategic government resources would be my third choice. They had some good things that I thought with the targeted outreach and the stage 1 and 2, but the pricing is way over at $32,500 if we included everything that we would probably need. Baker Tilly would be my second choice. On the search completion rate, Mr. Minor did not have any statistics exactly on either one of the questions that I asked, which is a really important question on where we need to look at. My number 1 would be Developmental Associates. The pros on that was 70% results versus other companies at 30%, 40 hired through the process. The cost and the coaching was really important to me, the emotional intelligence process by a psychologist. Open to diversity of all the applicants, I'm sure all of them are, but the confidentiality statements and I thought one thing, the staff do not review with one another, they're independent of each review, was really important to me as well. So that's my number 1 choice.
Okay, same sequence. Commissioner Westlake?
Okay, so for me, I was looking for something a little bit more unique in the recruitment process. So I agree with Mayor Pro Tem McMillan regarding Baker Tilly. It just seemed to be the standard search firm type of process, nothing real unique there. With SGR, I was very impressed by some of the things they do, such as the first-year game plan. I really liked their network, their outreach as they're recruiting, but their cost did play a factor for me, as well as the fact that they haven't done much in North Carolina. So I would say Developmental Associates is my first choice. I thought, again, they did a lot of unique screening, which I feel like we need to do something a little bit special since we've gone through 2 managers in the last 4 years. So.
Yeah, let's be careful of that comment, because Manager Wood left for a better opportunity, and there's absolutely no question that is a better opportunity. So
Okay, well.
we just need to be careful of, because I've gotten calls back from Hickory challenging us, why are we disparaging them? So, and I'm not pointing that
I'm
to you.
not disparaging him at all.
I'm not saying you. That's been out on social media, that's been mentioned, and the call has come back. We need to be careful of that, because he left on good terms on his own for a better position. So that's for all of us. I'm not directing at you, you just gave me an opportunity, that's all.
So based on the fact that they really did add some really unique features, as well as being the lowest of the 3 search firms as far as the cost and taxpayer dollar, that would be my first choice.
Okay, so the only difference was you put Baker Tilly third. Yeah, okay. Commissioner Lee?
I'm happy to go with Developmental Associates. I really like the sound of their assessment center. I was really, moved isn't the right word, but I was really shocked, I guess, by his example of they've had 3 failed searches. 2 of them were not their fault, but really the town's fault for making other decisions come ahead of skills. I really thought they gave us the most bang for the least buck.
I think we have a unanimous agreement there, Wendy. The one thing I want to add about SGR that I thought was disappointing, they didn't have the recruiter present.
Right.
And we were not assessing Kristen. We were
Right.
we were assessing the recruiter, and that person was not present. So all 6 were in agreement. So if you can bring that back Tuesday night, that would be great. Great work effort, board. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?